a secret now. I see dead people.
Welcome to Blondes and Booze. You are about to embark on a journey, one that often leads to more questions than answers. But fear not, your host, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy have the experience, the perseverance, and yes, even the gifts to pull back the veil and allow us to glimpse the other side. They will share not only their experiences, but will introduce you to world-renowned researchers and experiencers to help you find answers in the murky waters of what we call the paranormal. Their bonds with each other reach far beyond friendship, resulting in a pull no punches approach to the many subjects they explore. Their goal? To open eyes, hearts, and even minds to what lies on the other side, and the answers residing there.
Okay, this has been a night already. Hey, everybody. I forgot to put me and Brandy up there.
I was just trying to get this thing situated. It's saying that it's not going through to our Facebook page, and we got that big
Right.
sign came up.
I just got it too.
I'm like, what is going on here? You know what? I bet you Facebook doesn't like YouTube either.
I don't know. I just got that notification too, and I was looking at that, and I'm like, yeah, I got sidetracked. So I apologize, everybody. So anyway, we appreciate everybody being here tonight. There's lots of people out there in chat, and we definitely appreciate each and every one of you guys. And we're pretty excited about our show tonight. We have our friend Greg Ogles, who we met at the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, and we were able to hang out with him again at Gatlinburg, and he's going to be at the Dogman Conference too. So anyway, Brandy, you want to remind everybody what to watch so we can just get on with this show?
Yeah, I'm having some kind of lag. Are you noticing that now?
Yeah, you
Or am I
are.
okay?
No, you were lagging, and you weren't backstage.
Okay, because yeah, I know. Okay. Just here we go, everybody. Guess what? It's Blondes and Booze. This is what happens. Anyway, on Monday night at 8 p.m. Central, it's Texas Front Porch with me and Tex here, and I'm his lovely co-host. Tell him I said that too. On Tuesday at 7 p.m., it's Bob Buren with Van Buren Variety. At 8 p.m. Central, it's Beyond BMR with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central, it's Danielle Diva in the Diva Dimension. On Thursday at 12 p.m. Central, it's Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob and his lovely co-host, Krista. Of course, on Thursday nights, it's us at 8 p.m. Central with Blondes and Booze. And on Friday, if you just can't get enough, you can catch us again at 8 p.m. Central with Blondes, Booze, and the Woo. And on Saturday at 2 p.m. Central, Tex and Danielle Diva release their newest episode of Infamous Minds. Don't forget, Jason McLean has his own channel now, so make sure you go over there to like and subscribe. He doesn't do very many live shows. So, you can catch his episodes all the time. He's just throwing them out there whenever he gets a chance, I don't think he has a certain schedule. And don't forget, we also have Donnie Cho with Donnie Says Stuff. He says lots
exactly. Well, and the thing too with Jason too, he puts shows out. He doesn't always do live shows, as Brandy said. But if you turn on the notification button, then you'll be able to see when he does, because they did go live last Sunday. So
yeah, it just doesn't matter, I guess, when they have time, they do it. And of course, Jason is on Donnie Cho's show all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
You can catch them both on both channels, I guess. So there you go.
All righty. I am going to bring Greg up. Hey there.
Hello.
Doing
How are you, lovely ladies?
good. How are you?
Doing
Good.
well.
I'm trying to fix this Facebook issue, but I guess we're just going to have the issue.
Yeah, it's because I'm on. It's because I'm here.
Are you in Facebook jail?
I am. You know, Facebook hates me.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
We are streaming on Twitter tonight, just not Facebook.
It's not Twitter anymore. It's X.
X.
I don't.
It is X.
Yeah, it's now X.
I do that. Well, it shows up here as Twitter.
It does.
Whatever.
That's a little funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got the little bird still. So I can see it. So
Okay.
I don't know. Oh well, we didn't need Facebook anyway. People can come here on YouTube and watch it.
That's right. We didn't need it.
That's right. Also, what I wanted to remind everybody is make sure you check your favorite channels and make sure you're still subscribed, because I talked to somebody else Tuesday night that I talked to on Beyond BMR, and he was subscribed to our channel and he wasn't when he looked. So he had to go back and resubscribe. So make sure you do that.
Yep. You have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm typing. So anyway, Greg.
Yes.
Tell us who you are. Well, we know who you are. Let everybody else know who you are.
Yeah, well, my name's Greg, obviously. I have been an analyst for the government for 22 years. About a decade ago, I started becoming a little bit restless and tired of the same old hunting, fishing activities, outside of work. So I've always been a little bit fascinated with the paranormal. So I got into going out into the woods, and then eventually hey, I've always been interested in Bigfoot. So I joined a Bigfoot group on Facebook and got together with a group. And this guy named Paul Halsey, he mentored me. And Paul's a great guy. I love him to death, and sure miss him. He's living in Mobile now. So he's not in my immediate area. But anyway, while we were out investigating, being, being a trained investigator, it's just natural for me to put those same skills, that skill set, into what I'm doing, even in the woods. So one of the things that you want to do when you're investigating is just document. And there's several forms of documentation. You can, write things down. You can audio record. You can video record. With being ADD, I'm very ADD. So I'm not going to write things down. We videotaped everything. So I'm like, hey, while we're videotaping, let's make a documentary, right? How hard could it be?
Right. How hard is it? Tell us.
Oh my God. I don't recommend it for somebody who doesn't know anything like I did. But I do have a lot of leadership skills, and I do know how to surround myself with other people who know exactly what they're doing when I don't know what I'm doing. So that's exactly what I did. I went to UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham, and I got in contact with their director of their theater. So I said, hey, can you put me in contact with anybody who might be interested in doing a documentary? And I told her what it was about, and she put me in contact with this guy named Brent. And he worked for one of the local news stations, and we got together. And initially he was very skeptical, kind of like myself. I was extremely skeptical of a lot of things, but interested. You know what I mean? So we started documenting things, and literally on our first outing, this was, I don't know if this was beginner's luck or what. We were in the woods about 45 minutes and came across this pond, right?
Mhm.
So um, there was these small, real small little hills, surrounding the pond, and coming down one of the hills, these big old footprints, right? So we're like, oh man, this is pretty cool. So we started to look at them real close and started trying to document things as good as we can. Man, that footage is horrible. It's terrible.
Mhm.
But what we were catching though was fantastic. They were 15, 16-inch prints. They were 7 inches wide or so, with a 5.5 foot gate that came down from the hill to the pond, then went around the pond, and then went back up into the hill. And we're like, man, Brett and I were like, hey, there's going to be nothing to this. We're going to solve this, right? Just absolutely nothing about it at all. We're going to find it. So, we go off looking, and lo and behold, in about a quarter mile away, we came across this big field, this meadow.
Mhm.
And while we're there in the meadow, we start looking around. I see this big old giant, what looked like a giant bird nest, and it's on the side, right? And there's this game trail that goes right beside it. We're like, man, that it looks like a hunting blind to me, but it's huge. I mean, a full adult could easily get into it. So we're sitting there investigating this big bird's nest on its side. And then we start looking on the ground, and then here's these big old footprints again. And they're coming right out from this little bird's nest, right? Or hunting blind, whatever it is. But instead of the footprints being 5.5 feet apart, they're like 8.5 to 9 feet apart. But they were the exact same dimensions as the ones that we saw over at the pond. I mean, 16
Mhm.
inches and 7.5 inches wide. So we're like, hey, it's got to be the same individual, right? But maybe he's chasing it's chasing something through the field.
Mhm.
And we try to document these footprints as best we can. We do use these footprints in the film. But we didn't use all of our footage there because quite frankly, it was crappy. But we went and cast those prints, and there's these handprints that's actually right beside the footprints, right?
Mhm.
So the handprints are this far apart, right? There's
Wow.
there's two of them, but we cast one. One was cast, and the other one just wasn't castable. It was just too shallow. The dirt was just too hard, I guess. But anyway, so we've got some good physical evidence, literally on that first outing,
Mhm.
and we went in that same field. We went knocked to the very back of it, and there's these bat poles that the forestry department had
Mhm.
made, and they're up on 4x4 posts, and they're maybe 10 foot up or something like that. And at the top is these little bat houses. So we're looking around, and I notice up on one of the poles there's these fingerprints, and it looks maybe they were made with bat guts or something, some kind of guts or something, because they kind of stumped a
Mhm.
little bit and kind of red. Anyway, so on the front part of the 4x4, there's 4 fingerprints, and on the other side there's a thumbprint, right? So whatever it was had a hand big enough to go all the way around a 4x4 post. So the hand had to be gigantic.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. So we're thinking, oh my gosh, there's nothing to this mess. We've got this. We're going to discover it. We're going to get one on film, and we're going to prove its existence, right? Well. Anyway, so that was beginner's luck. Yes, that was beginner's luck. As we progressed, we never really came across another trackway like that again. we didn't know how rare that was.
Right.
Looking back on things, we could have done so much more to document the trackway. We could have put flags in where the footprints were, so you could actually physically see with the camera, the trackway, because the tracks are one right in front of another. They're not off to the side like humans do. They're one right straight in front of another.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, when I try to walk like that, it freaking hurts my hips. I
Right.
mean, I know I'm an old man and all, but I mean, that's just a weird gait. But when we first started, we thought it was going to be easy, and I did bring some of the skills that that I use on my everyday job and into doing this. And I think over the period of time, I've had to adapt some of those skills
Sure.
and to doing this versus investigating crashes. But I think we've got some incredible evidence that went into our film. Absolutely.
Yeah, you do. Remind everybody what it's called and where they can find the film.
Okay. Our film's called The Legend of the Downing Booger. You can just type in Downing Booger and it'll pop up on a search engine, and you can watch it free on Tubi TV. It's on Reveal TV and on a host of other platforms, streaming platforms. I can't remember them all. There's like 10 different platforms.
Yeah. I watched it on Tubi.
Yeah, it's on Tubi right now. And as other platforms do whatever it is they do to get films ready to put on their platform, it'll be on a lot of other platforms already, in the future. But right now it's on Tubi TV and Reveal.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that a little bit more. There was some parts in the documentary, like I got to tell you, the one on with the horses. I have horses, so they are flight animals, and that part that you showed in there, and I've talked to you about this, and you said that wasn't staged or anything. Like,
no, it wasn't.
You happened to come upon these women riding horses through there.
Oh, right.
You can see where that horse was looking somewhere. But it wasn't at you guys.
No, right. It was looking up the hill, kind of behind us. But it wasn't trained. Its eyes was not trained on us at all. A little bit of backstory about that. The story of the Downy Booger starts in the 1800s, and a couple of cousins were coming home from a dance, and of course they were on horseback at the time, and out from a tree steps this tall, hairy, wild man that they described, and it scared their horses. Their horses refused to go any further, and they had to go home another way. So that's the front part of the Downy Booger. There's some other sightings from back then where it followed a moonshiner. The moonshiner turned around and shot it. It went to the sheriff. The sheriff got a posse, and they actually tracked it to a cliff where they thought it fell to its demise. And this happened in Winston County, Alabama, back in the late 1800s. Okay, so that was the story of the Downy Booger. So the story of this, we were over in Georgia, and we were investigating this forest over there. I'm not going to give the exact place.
Sure.
But when we had 4 cameras with us, and they were all fully charged, and we were really wanting to investigate everything about our daytime trip because we wanted some more daytime stuff. So as we started to ascend the hill, all of our cameras started to wink off. The batteries started going off, and one would come on intermittently. It would go on and off, and I don't know what it was about being up there at the top of the hill. But there was there was a sense that something was different there. You could feel some kind of energy there. I don't know how to describe it because I haven't felt it since then. And I wasn't still at the time wasn't experienced enough to fully describe what this feeling was. Now, I also had a compass with me that was starting to, it wouldn't point to the north, in other words. So who knows what was happening with it. But as we started to descend the hill, we got right down to the bottom of the hill. And at the bottom of this hill, there's an equestrian trail. And there just so happened to be these two ladies riding horses as we were descending. And okay, when the horses and us met, one of the horses just went berserk. It kept like it didn't know whether it wanted to stop and bolt the same way that it came from, but it would stop and just stand at attention and look toward the top of the hill, right? And we were just amazed by this. We're like, what in the world is going on here? What is this horse looking at? We had all these malfunctions going on, and just curiously, as we descended and just got to the bottom of the hill, the cameras just happened to come on right then when we saw the horses. That's when they all powered right back up again. And this was, I don't know, it was so weird because this horse just did not want to go. And it got so bad, the lady had to get off the horse because it almost bucked her off at one point. So she had to get off of her horse and physically just make the horse go continue on down the trail. We didn't know these ladies. This was not staged. Now we put very little money into this film, so we didn't have the budget to fake anything. The only thing that we've got is just real footage. There may be other interpretations of what we got, but everything in it's real. So, but to me personally, the idea what this horse was doing sort of made the story of the Downing Booger actually real, because it happened to us. We actually got into the ladies, but we actually got to see something that was happened right immediately after something weird happened to us, with the cameras.
Right.
So, yes, that was a fascinating, event in our journey, and to this day, I still go look back on it and I'm amazed at, is it coincidence that the horse just went berserk as we were coming down and just happened to experience some strangeness, as we were coming down from? I don't know, but
it makes me wonder though if those ladies were even aware of anything going on, or were they oblivious?
I think they were oblivious.
Did you tell them what you were doing there?
No, we didn't talk to them other than saying, "Hey, are you okay?" They said yes, and one of them, the one that the owner of the horse, the rider of the horse that was going berserk, she said the horse never does that. She was bumfuzzled by it because the horse that she said it never does this. Mm-hmm. So she didn't know what was wrong. And she labeled the horse as scared. Is what she said.
What I found interesting, like the horse wasn't looking your way. So like it was looking off to the side, with its ears perked, and you always watch a horse's ears. They'll tell you everything. And so the horse seen something over there. I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot, but it could have even been a deer because horses are flight animals. But I feel like if it was a deer or something, you all would have heard it as well.
We would have heard or seen the deer. Yeah. It was not deer.
Yeah.
They would have seen it, the
Mhm.
horse can see an apex predator before you even know it's in the
Mhm.
vicinity.
Right.
They're very tuned to that. So, yeah.
One of the other things I would like to entertain is I think I know some animals can see into the light spectrum that we cannot.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if horses can see, partially into another spectrum that we cannot, and it was
Mhm.
able to see something that we just couldn't see with our eyes, in our light spectrum.
Well, I will tell you this: horses. I have one horse that she's at like anybody can ride her. She's good. She does everything perfect, unless you get her to a place called Shoal Creek Living History Museum in Kansas City, and it's very haunted. And she is a
Hmm.
total jerk at
Hmm.
that place. But I know it's because of the ghosts that are there.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm not saying you had a ghost there either, but
Well,
but horses, they're sensitive to things.
mhm. Well, I didn't believe in ghosts until I saw one, and this is the place where I actually saw one. It's the same place. I saw uh, uh, an Indian riding a horse manifest, and it was in the middle of a field, not far from where we were at. And it rode all the way through the field, and when it got to the wood lines, it disappeared. And me and Janice Nolan, who is also in our group, we both
Hmm.
saw it. I looked over at Janice. I was like, "Hey, do you see that?" She's like, "Man, it's an Indian on a horse."
Wow, that's
So,
really cool. That
mhm.
was
Mhm.
really
Right. So it's very possible that the horse did. Maybe it was a ghost or something there. I don't know what it was, but I do know that it was strange.
but the horse seen something. Yeah, I did think that was weird too, just because, yeah, the
Hmm.
horse wasn't looking at you guys. You guys did not spook it. Something else did.
Right. Yeah. And it was a very interesting moment in in that time. But frankly, I mean, we saw and experienced so many spooky, weird things that we didn't put even a third of them in the film because
Yeah,
we thought, they're so far out there that nobody would believe them, right?
yeah.
So,
Real quick, Robbie makes a good point here. Think about the Patterson's horse throwing him when they saw Patty.
Right.
yeah, right,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's there too. So apparently, there's a history with horses behaving badly around a Bigfoot. Well, but I mean,
Hmm.
could you blame them? You know,
No.
Right.
uh,
Definitely a
right,
pattern
right. There is a pattern there.
there.
There is a pattern. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, I got to tell you, I enjoyed your film.
well, thank
I,
you. I appreciate
I
that. I am glad that you guys enjoyed the film. That's what we made it for. After we were in it for a while, we stopped trying to prove anything, and we just wanted to show our audience what we see.
Right.
We just wanted to present evidence. You can make up your own mind. We
Yeah.
don't try to proclaim what any one certain thing is because, quite
Right.
frankly, at this time, we didn't know. However, everything in our films they are real, but we don't exactly know what everything is.
Right.
And like I said before, there's things in that we did not put in our film because we thought at the time it was real outlandish. Um, One of the things that I had to come to terms with um, the first time I saw it was these orbs. For lack of another term, I'm going to call them orbs. There's these luminescent balls of light that traverse through the woods, uh, seemingly intelligent themselves or under intelligent control.
Hmm.
Um, they're not fleeting. We've had experience where they've lasted for hours, literally hours. They would come and go and get brighter. They would appear to react to stimuli. meaning that they would try to I don't know if it's try to communication or what, but we eventually started to talk to these orbs, right? Like they were people or something. So we just started trying to talk to them, and we said, "Hey, can you make yourself brighter?" And sure enough, boom, they get brighter, And I'm like, "Holy moly!" And there's been several encounters where we just stayed out there so long, we get tired, and like, okay, going to bed. So we're walking out of the forest, here they come following us.
So let me ask you a quick question about the orbs. So you actually talked to them and like made verbal contact with them?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting because I've never done that. So I'm curious to do that now.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we never thought to.
No, we didn't. I mean, we just watched because we were in awe,
I didn't think to try to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, these lasted for so long that we had you had no choice but to try to do something, right?
So let me ask you a question. Is the area you were at, is it known to be haunted? Is there any cemeteries? Is there anything like that out there that could account for the orbs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in one area, no in another area.
Okay.
One area up in North Georgia, I don't know that there's cemeteries there, but I'm pretty sure that there's probably dead people buried up in there.
Sure.
Because and I'll tell you this place, it's called Fort Mountain. And at the top of Fort Mountain, there's these old ruins. And there's this monument there that the state of Georgia put there in reverence to the legend of the Moon-Eyed People. It tells the legend of the Moon-Eyed People. And for those people that don't know, it's like when the Cherokee Indians first got to that area, it was inhabited by what they call these wretched people that only come out at night and their eyes glowed.
Sure.
Anyway, they made war on them, whatever. But there's these ruins there. And the Indians said that it was the Moon-Eyed People who had built them. Now, we've had, our experiences with orbs there were just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. That's where they follow you. That we've literally had orb experiences there to last well over an hour. And, it's not every time that they try to interact with you. Sometimes they just go their own merry way, like, hey, I got something to do, and they're gone. And, but there was this one time it was myself and there was 4 other people 3 or 4 others that was with us. We saw this light coming through the woods, right? And we thought, hey, it's the forest ranger because it was so bright. It really looked like a flashlight. And the forest ranger was supposed to come and check on us. And it started coming forward. And we were like, hey, buddy, we're up here. Just come on up here and join us if you want to. And it got probably 50 feet from us, and then it stopped. And curiously enough, it wasn't saying anything. And we're like, hey, we're here. Can you hear us? And nothing in return. So one of a member of our party had a FLIR with us, and she put the FLIR up, and it didn't have a signature. There was no signature there. So if it would have been, and as close as it was, if it would have been a person, it wouldn't have, you can't hide from a FLIR. I don't care who you are. Okay, how skinny you are. You're not going to hide from a FLIR.
Right.
So there's no signature, but that light is still really, really bright. And that's the time when we started to communicate. After that, we're like, hey, what is this? So that's when we tried to start communicating with it, and it started interacting with us. So every time after then, whenever we've seen them, we've tried to communicate with them. And on our film, we tried to get Bigfoot, with night vision on our film, and we were having like no luck, none catching Bigfoot film, right? We're like, crap. I was getting tired and like, look, this film's got to end at some point, because at this point it had been like 5 years. It had been forever trying to get this thing done. So I'm like, hey, let's go get some of these orbs. I know nobody's going to believe us because, they're going to say, oh, it's a campfire or it's a flashlight or whatever. but let people make up their own mind. But sure enough, we went to that place in Georgia, and I had a thermal with me, and on this trip, it was really windy. There was a storm front that was coming, and Janice had actually made a comment that, maybe this wind would work in our favor, because maybe something would feel more comfortable coming up close to us. And I'm like, well, I don't think it would, because we wouldn't be able to hear it, right? So, but anyway, I'm watching something on my my thermal camera crawl down the hill, and it's getting closer and closer, and it kind of comes to this log or something, kind of pushes up and kind of stands up by the log, and then comes right back down, and then it just disappears. It like just completely disappears. I'm like, holy freak, what does that? So we're turned back around, and sure enough, at this location, there's these orbs there, and the orb showed up right on cue. We see them very often there, and it was one of these times where it stayed there our entire investigation. Right, the whole time we were there, it kind of hung out with us, right? So we did rent a real high-end camera that virtually sees in the dark. It has an extremely high ISO. So we're not projecting any beams with this. We kind of guessed that maybe Bigfoot could maybe see somewhat into the infrared range, and that's maybe why we weren't getting anything. So as Brent's filming the orb again, and there's a front coming in, and we're like, okay, Brent, I think we've got enough images of the orb. Let's call it a night. So we go back, and we go in post. Brent's going over the footage, and he's like saying, hey, we've got something. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Brent? And, yeah, we've got the orb. And he's like, no. Got to show you. So we're going over this evidence, right? And lo and behold, there's something crawling between us and this orb, and it's huge. Wow. And we did catch this on camera.
Can you tell like what it is, how big it is, anything?
Well, because it is actually really, really big. I don't know exactly how far it is away. If I knew exactly how far it was away, I'd be able to calculate its exact width. But we did a guess, and the guess is about 4 feet wide. But you could see in the middle, there's a dark area, and on the sides looks like shoulders. So we thought maybe this dark area is the head, and these areas on the side is its shoulders. But at some point where you can, when you have the raw footage and you manipulate that raw footage just a little bit, you can actually see the arms and shoulders. You can actually see it moving like this. It's actually crawling. And it looks like it's like an oh shit moment, like, oh my God, I'm on camera. So it's like crawls over this way, and then back out of frame. And interestingly enough, around that time, Janice said she saw something run down the trail that was tall and dark. I didn't see it, but and I'm going to be honest, at the time I sort of dismissed it, but now I don't dismiss that at all. I think she actually saw it, whatever it was. But you can see a hind end at one point, the butt of it. But it looks like exactly like this spider crawl that some people are talking about.
Yeah. So actually, there's somebody in chat here, War Criminal 7. His Dogman encounter, he's seen it. The way he described it to us was kind of something similar to what you said, like the crawl. I find that interesting. And well, Robbie just said that he said spider crawling is a described Bigfoot behavior. So that's interesting.
Well, we have that on camera. You can actually see that at the end of the film.
Mhm.
And it's really, really interesting. We've been trying to find some place that could really enhance our footage, but we've not had success yet in finding somebody that would enhance it for, our kind of budget,
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I get
So,
you. Yeah.
but we were thinking it's really interesting footage. But what
Mhm.
I think is so interesting about it, it's got two phenomena in one frame. It's got
Mhm.
the orb, which is in the background, and it's got this crawly thingy in the front that we
Mhm.
think is likely a Bigfoot. Now, I was talking to another guy. His name, he's actually in our film. His name's Keith, and he actually introduced me over into that area. And his interact, I was talking with him, and he mentioned separately that there's a young one there that loves to crawl,
Mhm.
and he loves to crawl and get real as close as he can without being seen. And sometimes he'll get so close that he'll come up and do a little pop with his mouth, or um, sometimes he'll
Mhm.
mimic somebody's voice or something like that.
Yeah.
So we thought that really interesting. And after I mentioned it to him, he says, "Oh yeah, you caught
Mhm.
the young one or whatever. You mentioned whatever it was." He said, "Yeah, you caught the young one." So, but yeah, that happened, and it's real footage. It's real. But what's a little disturbing was this thing was so close to us, and we never saw it. We
Wow.
While we were there, never saw it. Never saw it. Never heard it.
Wow, that's interesting. Let's go back on the orbs again.
Mhm.
So, were they different? The ones when Brandy and I were at the LBL, and this was back in January, that was the time we saw them. There's two people I seen out in chat that were there with us that night, and we all witnessed different sizes and different colors. What was it that you guys saw?
Okay. The majority of the orbs that I see are sort of a blue-white. Um, they got like a blue hue to them, and they're kind of whitish blue. I have seen and this is in retrospect. Uh, on our first outing, which is in the film, right before I did the rap on a tree, I thought I saw what looked like tail lights in the woods. And I was like, hey, there's somebody's driving in the freaking woods. Try to get Brent to get the camera onto it. He's like, where, there, there. Just
Mhm.
kept on going back and forth. He didn't know where they were. He couldn't see it, but I could. And there was two red, but they were red. And, they kind of just, kind of backed out and went away or whatever. But
Mhm.
at the time, I didn't know what I saw, at that
Yeah,
time, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But
and
I have
that's
seen red ones, but the majority have been kind of blue, white.
yeah. So when I saw a blue one, but it's been many years ago, and it was at a haunted location. So I really chalked that one up to a ghost. I mean, because we weren't even there looking for Bigfoot. It was,
Hmm.
it was just a haunted location. It was ghosts there without a doubt.
Hmm.
But
Mhm.
the LPL, that one kind of makes me wonder, only because there is cemeteries there, there's ghosts, there's definitely hauntings that go on at the LBL.
Hmm.
However, the one that I personally saw, it was the size of a beach ball, and it
Hmm.
was a reddish orangish color.
Hmm.
And but everybody else, I mean, we were seeing different colors and different sizes, and it just really blew me away
Right.
that night.
Yeah, I've been on different expeditions where that's happened, where people have seen like basketball size,
Hmm.
orangish looking orbs.
Mhm.
Uh, other people in our expeditions have seen that. It's
Hmm.
just I haven't seen it other than the red ones. These are red like tail lights.
Hmm.
But um, but I haven't seen the orange ones. Well, I take that back. There's one time I did see some orange ones. But this was they were kind of they were quick. They didn't they didn't linger around much. They were, kind of there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe 30 seconds, and then it was gone, and I didn't see it again. So, and it was through some trees, and I was trying to get a good look at it, but I couldn't exactly see what it was. But so I take that back. I have seen an orange one, perhaps, but for sure, red ones and blue-white ones.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, and people were seeing white ones, people were seeing blue ones, and actually Martin Groves was there, and he was telling about his encounter, and Bart Nunley was filming it for one of his shows, and Bart didn't even realize, but I think it's on the 14-minute mark on that episode, 14 or 17-minute mark, he captured an orb. He captured a white one in the tree line, and this was the middle of January. There was nobody else out there. There weren't any, leaves on the trees. There wasn't anybody wandering around the woods. It was a legit, He captured something. What it was, if it's paranormal, I don't know. If it's, on the cryptid side, UFO side, I don't know. But it was definitely an orb he captured.
Right.
Yeah, but I will tell you this though. As we were sitting there, and we're seeing these things, and we're just sitting watching them, and then I noticed there was two side by side, and they were like an orangish red, and I'm like, what
side
is
by
that?
side.
They were side by side,
real close, real close.
Yeah. And then I watched them move together, and I went, oh, that's eye shine.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, look. And I was trying to grab my phone. We talked about this, I think, last week. I was trying to grab my phone, and I couldn't get it out of my pocket. I was like, oh, God. I just lost it. I was like, there it is, because we were watching things peek behind the trees and everything, and then I saw this eye shine, and I thought it was orbs at first, but they were together. That's how many orbs there were. I thought they were actual just more orbs over there by the tree, but it wasn't. This was eye shine. So, it was pretty strange that these were all occurring at the same time.
That brings me back to the film. Okay, the whole time that we were there, I could have sworn that it was just one orb. So when Brent starts zooming in on it, it's actually two. They're real close together, and they look like one.
Interesting.
Right? And as you start to go frame by frame, it actually almost looks like they do this, like they're blinking. And it's not. It's hard to see while you're there, because from my naked eyes, I thought I could only see one, but there's actually two. When you use your equipment and you can actually zoom in, you can definitely see two areas of pixels that are lit up to individuals, and they stay lit up different. It's not like it's just an aberration. They stay lit up. So there's actually two sources of light. And I swear, when you go frame by frame, it looks like they do that. They just kind of wink.
Wow.
And they get bright. You can see in the film they get brighter and dimmer. Brighter and dimmer. Particularly when that thing is crawling between us and the orb. So, but since you mentioned that happened to us too. So it kind of makes me wonder. Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder how many of those orbs that I saw were actually more than one at the same, at the time. And I will say this: I was wearing some of these little headphones that can make you hear a whole lot better out in the woods. Well, the first time I saw those orbs, and I could. What made me think it was the ranger was that it sounded like somebody was walking up on us. I could hear really good with those, hear better headphones.
Right.
You could hear everything with those, but it really sounded like somebody was walking. And I was the one who mentioned to the others, the ranger's coming, because he was supposed to come check on it. He didn't, but he was supposed to come check us, or he said he might, but, it really makes me wonder, what is it we're really seeing? Is it ghosts or is it something else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good question. It is a very good question.
Right, and that's some of the things. Also, okay, one of the things that we experienced when we were making Booger. Whenever we would go on walkabout, we would go out in teams. We would never go out by ourselves. We'd go out in teams, and we'd stay maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'd come back in to what we call base camp. Okay, so there was this one instance where Janice and I went out, and we could have sworn that we were out in 30, 45 minutes or so, and then we were coming back, right? Well, when we got back, her son and Brent, they were left back at camp. They said, hey, why were you guys gone so dadgum long? And we're like, why? We were gone 45 minutes. And they're like, no, dude, you were gone 4.5, 5 hours. And we're like, no way.
We have to take our 5-minute break, but when we come back, let's talk more on that. And also upcoming projects, because we're all going to be doing something together with a couple people in our chat. So we can talk about that when we come back too.
Absolutely.
So everybody stay tuned.
I got lots of questions.
Yep. Everybody stay tuned, and we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Sure.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Really appreciate everybody sticking around with us. Is Brandy froze?
Yeah, Chris.
I think Brandy's
The Dogman
freezing.
Conference.
Oh yeah, the Dogman Conference. Let's talk about that real quick. Wow, I've had a pretty stressful week this week, so my mind's not right. But Dogman Conference. It's Labor Day weekend. It's just in a couple weeks, and great lineup of speakers there. If anybody's in the White Settlement, Texas area, which is what, Fort Worth, come on over there and
yes.
yeah, and see everybody. We'll be there, and plus Greg, you're going to come also.
We'll be there.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot of people there. So come over there and see us for sure. So I want to talk about missing time. What happened?
Yeah.
Well, from our perspective, nothing happened. We walked down. We kind of looked in the woods for a while. We saw some orbs, came back. From their perspective, they thought that we only went just out of campfire site, and they thought they heard us talking that entire time. But we were nowhere near camp. We were way down the trail. But both her son and Brent both swear that they heard us talking just, maybe a 100 feet or 200 feet away, just
Wow.
the whole time. And we weren't anywhere near camp. But sure enough, it wasn't long before the sun came up. And when we left, it was probably 11 o'clock.
That's hours and hours.
Hours and hours and hours. I mean, and she and I didn't believe that we were gone that. From our perspective, we weren't gone that long.
Yeah.
But from
I've
there,
talked to other people with missing time, and they don't feel like, they were gone that long.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like that. But do you
Right.
remember the night? Do you remember?
I
do.
do. I remember it very clearly, actually. It was an ordinary night. We didn't think anything was out of the, every time we go out, there's something out of the ordinary happen pretty much. But for us, that's ordinary,
Sure.
So for us, I mean, it was relatively normal. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. We didn't see anything that was just strange, or I don't remember seeing any weird lights or anything. Just we went down the trail, we observed some orbs for a little bit, and we came back. That was pretty much about it. But from their perspective, which is what is interesting, and it's probably more interesting to hear Brent say it, because he and her son both swear that they heard us talking. But what is interesting is that we have all heard disembodied voices. And interestingly enough, a lot of those disembodied voices came in the same tone as my voice.
Oh, wow. That is crazy.
There was one, I always have a tendency whenever I'm addressing somebody, I always go, "Hey, so-and-so." And Janice and I were in camp a little bit early one day, and we were waiting on Brent, but I had went off somewhere else, and Janice said that she heard in my voice say, "Hey, Janice," and I think it was that same time something had grabbed her foot, and she was like, "Oh," she was very startled, and or she thought something grabbed her foot. Anyway, when I came back in the camp, she said, "What you want?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "You said, 'Hey, Janice.'" I'm like, "No, I didn't. I wasn't here. I was way down yonder." She says, "Oh, so you kind of freaked her out a little bit." And then later on that night, I was getting up. I was going to, go to the restroom, and as soon as I started stirring up, I heard in my voice, "Hey, Janice," kind of it was in my voice, but a little bit different,
Yeah.
And as I was like, "Oh my!" And then Brent said, "I heard that."
Yeah. So nobody actually seen another you, just heard another you.
Just heard another me. And it happened somewhere else. It happened at Fort Mountain, where Paul Halsey was with our expedition. And I was off with another group. And this is the time where we were, the time that we were experiencing all these orbs, right? Paul Halsey said that he heard in my voice say, "Hey, Paul." And he was looking for me. He was all around looking for me. And when we came back into town, he's like, he thought I was messing with him. He's like, "What are you doing?" He said, "You ain't supposed to be doing that kind of stuff." And when we're on, I'm like, I was with these people.
Yeah.
And there was another witness that was there with Paul that heard that too.
You have a voice doppelganger, it sounds like.
Apparently I do. I don't know why.
That brings so many theories to my mind. It's like I mean, we've heard of Bigfoot mimicking sounds. So could it have been that?
It very well could have been, because I also heard when we were going out with Paul had let out this "Hey," and then from the directions deep in the woods, it was "Hey," came right back at us. And that was interesting. And Paul carries this little stick around. Every time he goes to a conference and speaks, he carries this stick. And it was so funny. He had this speaker, that he was playing this, I don't know, it was retarded music. And apparently whatever was there didn't like it. It threw a stick at him. It landed right between his legs. And we were all kind of sitting down. We're like, "Holy crap, Paul, it doesn't like that kind of music." So, but it was, the stick was real smooth, and there was nothing straight up above us, so it didn't fall. But I actually saw the stick coming, at a horizontal trajectory, So I mean that was, anyway, that was a funny moment. We were both kind of laughing. I guess we were a little inebriated at the time too, which is not a good thing when you're out in the woods. But
no,
we were
not at all. When we investigate, we are totally sober. I don't care if it's ghosts or out at the LBL doing our thing. We are 100% sober. We don't. We don't.
I don't recommend being even the slightest bit inebriated when you're out in the woods. But it was a long weekend.
Yeah, I understand. Totally understand that one. Let's move to future. Let's talk about some upcoming things that you have going on. You wanna talk about some of that stuff?
Absolutely. Now that we know how to make films, we've started to put together a star-studded cast with up-and-coming people in the cryptid world. We're going to start out with Trey Hudson and his group, and we want to start out investigating the Meadow. It's a fascinating place, I'm going to tell you. I've been there multiple times. The first time we thought we didn't see anything, but while we were there, Brent sees something that is kind of leading us toward another direction,
Mhm.
and it freaked Brent out so bad he will not go back to that place.
Oh,
He will not go back. It freaked him out that bad. Now we have seen some really weird things. Like I said, that we've encountered a lot of things that we just didn't put in the film because they were just out there, right?
Mhm.
But what we encountered there in the meadow was a bit startling. It was a bit startling to me. So we're going to open our film up with that encounter, and I've got another eyewitness or experiencer that's going to be in the film that has some fantastic UAP footage.
Okay.
It's fantastic, and it's undoubtable that it's what it is. But it's fantastic. So he's going to be in our film, and he works with Homeland Security right now. I think Homeland Security, one of these law enforcement agencies.
Right.
But that's going to kind of lead us into another realm with you guys.
Mhm.
And Tex from Texas Front Porch. He'll be
Mhm.
there.
Yep.
And we may have a few other surprises along the way, but
Mhm.
I will say that regardless of where the rest of our film takes us as far as evidence, I already have enough evidence right now. It surpasses the first film already.
Mhm.
So this film is going to have more real evidence in it than the first
Mhm.
one. And, I think it's going to be spectacular. It's
Mhm.
going to end up at the land between the lakes.
Yep. And just to let everybody else know too, DA Roberts is
It's going to
gonna,
be there.
and so is Robbie Raines,
Robbie Raines.
and
Yep,
they're both
Robbie
in
Raines.
chat. Hmm.
Right.
So it's gonna be good. So I think the LBL does not disappoint. I mean, it just doesn't. So
Well, that's what we're counting on. We have seen some. Well, what Brent saw was it was startling, and it's going to be quite emotional when you hear him talk about it. And I've interviewed witnesses, and you can see whenever they've seen something that kind of shocks their conscience, it traumatizes them so that you can actually feel their energy when they're talking about it. You can
Mhm.
feel how shook up they are.
Absolutely.
And to hear Brent talk about this, I feel for him because he saw something that he can't deal with, or he's
Mhm.
having trouble dealing with.
Mhm.
And I will say that, it was during an SD session, and Trey has said that it was the most intense SD session that he's ever had.
Mhm. Do you want to explain to people what that is? Because some people aren't always ghost people, and then that's a ghost equipment.
Right. And this was, I'll have to say, this was my first time doing this method. The SD session, it consists of like a ghost box, which is a radio that scans frequencies.
Mhm.
And the theory goes is that the ghost can hit on words that as it scans the frequencies to try and communicate back. So you plug headphones into the ghost box, and you put them up to your ears. And the way we did it then, we put another set of headphones up over the ones I had in my ears, so that I couldn't hear anything except what was coming through the ghost box. And then I put on blindfolds, so I had no visual stimuli at all. Okay. Um, and then he would ask me questions, and I would say what I heard from the ghost box. And I'll say that it was very disturbing to me personally. It was very disturbing because I had a lot of imagery to come through,
Mhm.
um, and the imagery was difficult to handle. And I do know that he had to stop the session early because I became visibly
Mhm.
traumatized from it. Now I don't remember anything from it,
Mhm.
and I haven't seen the footage, and I'm going to wait to review that footage when I'm actually on camera, so I can actually get like my true reaction uh,
Sure.
from it.
And just an FYI, some people call that method the Estes method.
It's actually called the Estes method. I just call it the SD.
Yeah.
Because I can never remember Estes.
Mhm.
I might mess up and say
Yeah.
estrogen or something.
We'll have to make sure that is one of the things that we do when we're at the
Mhm.
LBO.
Right.
Honestly, I want to talk about this for a second because I was doing this method and I was doing it at Waverly Hills Sanitarium in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
That was the most emotional one
Yes.
that I'd ever had. That it just, I guess I was crying and just snot.
Mm-hmm.
It was ugly. But the thing is it was probably about 50, 55 degrees outside. So I had a hoodie on. I wasn't cold or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. But they were using a thermal imager while recording the session and watching me. And as I was saying stuff, there was different spots on my body that would turn cold as if somebody were touching me. And
Wow.
it said it at one point that something's touching me on my arm and you watch it
Mm-hmm.
turn colors. And my head looked like I had a hoodie on because it should have been bright red because of the heat coming out of my head. It wasn't. It was dark blue, as if it were cold. So I had like little cuts in my pants, holes in my jeans, and my legs were hot. You could see, the red coming through my jeans where my legs were showing, but my head looked
Mm-hmm.
like it was completely cold. So
Mm-hmm.
when you say that you're getting emotional about this, I completely
Mm-hmm.
understand. And I still have this on thermal. I'll have to show it to you because you're gonna be like, whoa,
Well,
okay.
wow.
Mhm.
No, you just said a lot of things that Brent says he saw.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to save exactly what he saw for the film.
All
But
right.
when the film comes out, remember this conversation because
Okay.
you hit on a lot of things of what he said he saw.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That
it
so
that
just
that
remember
method
that.
can be intense. It really can be.
Mhm.
I've done it
it
myself, and
yes.
it's something that, like we always put people on a time limit, usually no more than 10, 15 minutes, and
Mhm.
then we tap them out, and yeah.
Mhm.
So when we go to the LBL, I think that's something that we can definitely
Yeah.
try out. I'm willing to do it, and I'm sure
Mhm.
Brandy is too.
Oh yeah,
So
I'll do it. Yeah, absolutely. I have
Mhm.
no problem. You just give me a blanket and a chair, and it's like I just go to sleep. You don't have to put like a blindfold on. I'm good. I'm used to it.
Mhm.
I just lay back go because go to sleep with it. It's like it's an instant sleep mode with me when that thing comes on.
Mhm.
yeah.
Uh, even though you don't
Real quick, I just want to give a shout out and a thank you to Growing Old with Purpose. We definitely
thank
appreciate that.
you, thank you. But it is like a sleep aid for me. It's like I don't go fully asleep, but it's like I
Mhm.
trance out. It's like I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just repeating the words. It's just coming, and I get so comfortable. And then when I'm done with it, I'm all refreshed, going, "Hey, okay, I got a nap
Mhm.
in."
Yeah, it wasn't quite like that for me, but it was very emotional.
But
It
it
was
was your
ex
first time, correct?
Yeah, it was. It was my first time. It was.
Well, yeah. Your first time was always like, it's very the adrenaline's pumping, and you're just trying to keep up with the words at first,
Right.
and then after a while,
Exactly.
And once you relax and get into it, it's very, I don't know, relaxing. That's all I can say. It's just, for me, it's just, I just start, just spouting out words.
I don't know. I got really uncomfortable there for a while. I will say at first I dismissed it. I was like, ain't nothing but a radio. I listen to radio all the time, right? So I'll put that on. No. It's more than just radio.
Yeah. Well, War Criminal is actually commenting. He actually watched me do this when we were at Malvern Manor, and he watched me curl up in a chair with my little blanket. I was just warm and cozy, just shut my eyes.
Well, and here's the thing too. Somebody, like if Brandy's wearing all the headgear, somebody on the outside is asking questions, and she can hear, the questions that are being asked.
Yeah, that's what Trey was doing. Trey was asking me questions, and he said I was right on point answering the questions. So anyway, I don't much remember the session anymore. And Brent hasn't shown me the footage yet. So
probably not. He probably doesn't want to right now.
He probably doesn't. He's probably still dealing with what he saw.
Probably. It's taking some time, but he'll get it. He'll get to it.
Yeah.
There was one time that I did it at a haunted location here in Missouri, and they started talking about a murder, and I kept saying that I was killed, I was stabbed, and it was going on, and come to find out, everybody's like, well, don't know anything about a murder here. And come to find out they did their homework, and like 3 days later, like I got a message like, oh my God, this person was stabbed in this house. So it was this person that, come through, and I was just talking about the murder. It was them.
Yeah. Well, so, all I know is part of mine was Trey described it as apocalyptic.
Oh, wow.
So I don't. It'll be interesting when it comes out and we get to put everything together.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a very interesting time, because like I said, the LBL it's not only, a cryptid, a Bigfoot, a dogman thing out there. It's there's ghosts too,
So you got the whole shebang there. There's no telling what we'll catch.
Yeah, and I'm also gonna bring my laser light. So we'll be trying for UFOs over there. Why not, right?
I love lasers.
So we'll give it a shot there. I've never done that there. So,
I've got a laser that'll start fires.
Bring it.
Funny story about my laser. When we were at Fort Mountain, I was putting together my tent, and I had stuck my laser in my pocket, right? And I'm sitting there, bending over, fiddling with my tent, and I start smelling a little something. What's burning? I looked down; it was in my pants. My laser was on. It was burning all through my pants.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. So I get to where now I always turn my batteries around backwards so I don't accidentally set it off.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, that's funny. That's too funny. So were you a believer before you did this, or were you just curious and like, let's just go see what's out there?
Just curious.
Just curious.
Now, I will say this, though. When I was a child, I had a UFO experience. I was very, 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 very young. And it was my two brothers, a couple of cousins, and myself. We were on, I rode the road that I live on now. And this big light came down and shined on us. Yeah, the light seemed different. It almost seemed like a tangible thing, like you could reach out and touch it, right? And you could almost scoop it up and throw a light ball at somebody or something. That's kind of what it seemed like it was like a physical field. So we have a memory of I have the memory of us being in the middle of the road, and then the next memory is being on my grandmother's covered porch, and we were all there together. And I remember thinking with my little head saying, "How is the light coming through the porch? Because it's a covered porch."
Sure.
And then I remember seeing the light being like it like lifted up. It didn't shut off. It lifted up. I don't know how to explain that better. But I didn't see the craft, but my oldest brother did, and he said it was like this giant triangle, and it's kind of, did a little, and it was gone, right?
Wow.
But I don't remember how I got from the middle of the road to my grandmother's porch, which was several hundred yards away. And I thought at the time it was just from me being so young. And not too long ago, I talked about this with my cousins and my brothers, and we all have the exact same memory gap.
Wow.
So from a standpoint of believing, I've always not only believed, but I knew like something otherworldly exists. But now, as far as like cryptids and ghosts, I was just curious, like Bigfoot. I thought, well, there's a possibility, but I was
Sure.
just curious. Now I'm very much a believer, because there was one instance where, again, we were at Fort Mountain. We were using a FLIR, and something's kind of crouched down. We thought it was just a rock, and eventually it stands up, and you could see its face, its hands, its arms, everything.
Wow.
As a giant log comes from a different direction, and then she takes the FLIR, does this, and comes back, and then it's gone.
Wow.
But so now I'm pretty much a believer, and I didn't believe in ghosts until I saw the Indian on the horse. I didn't
Right.
believe it, and I had never even heard of orbs until I saw them.
Yeah, I get it. Well, if you remember right, when we were at the Alabama Bigfoot conference, I came out of the women's bathroom and you came out of the men's bathroom, and I took you in the women's bathroom because I had the door moved on me, and we were at a haunted location. The venue, was haunted, and one of the stall doors moved, and I just had to tell somebody, you just happened to be the person that I seen first. I was like, hey, you got to come see this, and
that was the owner of the place. The owner. That was the owner. Interestingly enough, Brandy and I went down into the basement, and she was shining this light around, right? And I just happened to be looking over toward our left, and she shined the light, and I said, seen something duck behind some boxes, and I like grabbed her arm real quick, and I was like, I was trying to replicate it with the shadows, right? And I couldn't replicate it. I was making her exact movements with the lights, and I was, that's a shadow person. I saw a shadow person then, and only a few weeks before, I had seen a shadow person at the meadow. With Trey, I'd seen a shadow person dart over toward an area where there were some other people were kind of stationed, and then I saw this little orb kind of hang around where they were. And that's an interesting story too, and that's going to actually be in the next film.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just the story, just that story, but not the film part from it. I wasn't actually filming, but I will tell that story.
Very cool. Very cool. That location we were at there in Alabama, though, it had never been investigated. We were the first ones there. We went the Thursday night before, and it was active. It's really active. And even during I don't know if you know this or not, Greg, but during the conference, broad daylight, Brandy was pinched.
Really?
Yes.
She was sitting at our booth. Yeah, I was sitting right next to her when it happened.
Wow. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but there was a lot of battery drainage during that conference. We were first up. Yeah, we were first up, and I think we went through 3 or 4 sets of batteries with the microphones. We were trying to, do our thing, go on with the show, and the batteries kept draining. I was like, come on, guys, let me speak.
Yeah.
You don't have to manifest right now. Wait a little while.
That was a very active location.
It was. You could actually feel when you went down to the basement.
Okay.
What's that, Brandon?
When we went down to the basement, you could actually feel what was going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just getting ready to talk about, I have this planet-looking thing that, you charge it up, and then you can use, it's like one of these things. You can use one of these things and change the colors and let it flash, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This thing kept turning on by itself. And then I'd have to turn it off, and then it'd turn itself on. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave it on. And then, about 20 minutes later, it changed the color.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay.
Okay, that was weird.
And then it started doing it. But my remote was back at the hotel room. I'd forgot it.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was just doing its own thing, I guess. Turning
It's
on.
doing its own thing, right? Yeah, just sitting there playing.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we're going to be doing another Alabama Bigfoot conference next year, and stay tuned, everybody, for the dates. But regardless, where we have it, we're going back there to that venue. It's an awesome venue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can get with Andrew and them, and I know they'll let us in. I mean, they were a blast, and it's a great location to.
It certainly is.
Yeah,
it certainly is. I would love to go back there again.
Maybe we can get a public ghost hunt or something. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I went on a public ghost hunt not long ago at the Arlington House in Birmingham.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was interesting. I did film it.
I think I seen it on was it on Brent's Facebook? Maybe.
I haven't finished the edit on it yet.
I seen pictures or something he had.
Yeah, I may have. I put some pictures up from it.
Yeah.
But I didn't put my video up. The video is kind of cool. I really did not intend to catch anything, so I didn't film it from a filmmaker's perspective, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I did catch some interesting stuff, and I used my Psionics Aurora, which is a full spectrum camera, and tried to use the full spectrum just in case could see something that wasn't in our visual range, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. I'm probably halfway done with the edit on it. It's going to be a fun little film. It's not going to be on Tubi or anything. We'll put it on like YouTube or something.
So when are you expecting? I know we're filming in the spring at the LBL. So when are you thinking that the new film will be released?
After we wrap up filming comes the hard part, comes editing.
Sure.
I'll be frank, editing takes a long time, particularly when you're trying to piece things together to make it look logical and entertaining at the same time. So we're probably going to be looking at next fall to next winter before before we can probably get it out. I would say optimistically next summer, but we have regular jobs too that we work on.
Absolutely.
It's just us two. We don't have 50 people working on anything like people in Hollywood does.
Sure.
So, that's their full-time jobs and it's not ours. So, we do it on weekends. We're weekend filmers, weekend warriors.
Yep. I hear you. That's how we do too.
Maybe we should do a paranormal one.
Next summer, I am going to do paranormal films.
Oh.
Yeah. So you know, we don't do Bigfoot stuff in the summertime down here because there's
Oh,
so many
no,
ticks, chiggers, snakes, mosquitoes,
it's
things that
too
go
hot.
wah 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 wah.
Yeah.
So your audio would be crap, doing a film
Yes.
out here in the South in the summertime. So what you can do is do paranormal films inside, like where there may be air conditioning and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So.
Or not.
Mhm. Or not, but still, there's not a whole bunch of crickets and bullfrogs and mosquitoes
Mhm.
and chiggers and ticks and snakes and everything else that you have to contend with.
Right.
Yeah, well, if you feel like making a trip to Missouri, Brandy and I's home location, haunted location, we can definitely take you there.
Well, that may be something that I might take you up on because I would like to put out more films.
Mhm.
Right.
Absolutely would love to put out more films. And I figure I could do two during the summer, two different films at two different locations. And
Mhm.
with those being those would be a little bit easier to do
Mhm.
because you go to one location, you get the back history of the location. You do minimal amount of research versus having to do research on multiple locations and find out multiple witnesses and have to deal with a whole lot of others. Bigfoot films is a whole lot harder than just a paranormal film.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
next summer, I'll look forward to doing maybe two paranormal films.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, we've
And-
got locations. We've got
Yep.
locations. So
okay. Well,
You
careful
know
what
where to
you
find
ask
us.
for. You careful what you ask for. You might just get it.
You know where to find us.
Mhm.
So we are coming up to the hour and a half mark, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. One more time, I want to bring up the Dogman Conference. That'll be in 2 weeks. The lineup of speakers is incredible. You will if you come to the conference, you will be blessed with mine and Brandy's presence, along with Greg here. And I've seen several people in chat that I know that are coming as well. And
yes, our very own Tex will be speaking. So
yep, it's going to be
you don't want to
speaking.
miss that.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a fun weekend. It's a 3-day event. It's a Friday night VIP and then Saturday and Sunday. So it's gonna be a good time. Yeah.
Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you guys can't make it, tune in because we always we do some lives, some weird lives sometimes, and you just never know. We do have plans to go look for the Lake Worth monster, so you just never know.
Yep. We do plan on it.
Yep. So anyway, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Tomorrow night, we are talking face eaters with D.A. Roberts and Robbie Raines. And
Nasty Gug Boy. Here we
nasty go. Yep. So that is tomorrow night's topic. So if you all can tune into that. And we appreciate each and every one of you. And real quick, thank you once again, Growing Old with Purpose. We definitely appreciate the super chat. And Greg, thank you for coming on. We'll have to do this again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, good night, everybody. And we will see you all tomorrow night.
Bye, everybody.